Hi everybody, welcome to the live stream. I'm Tisa Blackburn, I'm your acrylic diva. And today we're going to do a painting in the style of the Fauves, sort of a beach scene. So, kind of imagine Matisse in the south of France, Collioure with his buddy Andre Derain, and they were painting and so on. So I'm going to get started on that. Let's go to the overhead camera. There we go. And I am going to, I've got my chat window open, so if you have questions as we go along, just let me know. I'm going to put out my colors. I always use the same three colors. So I'll just put them here for you so you can see quinacridone magenta, phthalo blue, benzimidazoline yellow, and titanium white. Where's my titanium white? Here it is. So, and everything is in the description too, everything that I'm using. So let's put the paint out. I just use these three colors. Keep it simple, You don't need a lot of paint. Three colors should do it. So let's start with quin magenta. Phthalo blue. This phthalo blue is very strong. So we'll put a little bit of that out. Let's put a little more. You never know. And then the benzimidazoline yellow, we need that. So you can see those three colors right there are the three primary colors that I use, and you really don't need anything else. It's true. Of course, we do need titanium white, so we'll put some of that out. Okay, so we're going to do a seascape, a little bit of seascape. So if you're watching and you have questions, just put them in the chat, or let me know where you're watching from. Get my chair out of the way. Yeah, and let me know if you have questions too, okay? So I'm going to paint what's called alla prima, which is wet into wet, because it's easy and I don't have to wait for things to dry. And with these three colors, it's really hard to make mud. You can if you want to, but if you have questions about color mixing, there's another video on the YouTube channel all about color mixing, so you can definitely take a look at that. And let me get something to drink. I forgot to put that out here because I know as we're going along, I will get a tickle in my throat. It always happens. Okay, so first things first, let's lay down our sky. And because I said tickle in the throat, it happened. Okay, I'm going to start with my number 12 Princeton Aqua Elite. It's in your description, all the materials I'm using. I will start with some titanium white. And I'll just put that down. Just titanium white. And you'll notice that I don't put my paintbrush in the water. I'm not a big proponent of using water in your paint. You don't need to. So let's put a little white down. We're going to go with a kind of a lavender sky that's kind of going to gradiate down to a sort of a sunset. So let's start with a little quin magenta. Now these are very strong pigments, so don't use a lot. You can see, can you see on the camera the tiny amount of quin magenta I've got there? You don't need much. I've got something on my paintbrush. Okay. So we'll do that. Just get that kind of laid down, kind of a soft pink. Now we want to kind of push it up to a little bit of a lavender. So without washing my brush or anything, I'm just going to grab a tiny amount of phthalo blue. Phthalo blue is really, really strong, so don't use much. See how strong that is? Look at that. It's completely overpowered our quin magenta. So we're going to have to go back. It's not quite as lavender as I want it. It's a little bit too blue. So I'm going to go back and grab a little bit more quin magenta. Push that down a little bit. Get it a little bit more to the purple side. I'll wipe my brush. just have a bunch of paper towels here, and I'm wiping my brush. And I'll go back to the titanium white and just kind of soften that a little bit. Okay, that's pretty good. Now I want to get a little bit more rosy on the bottom as we go down. So I'm going to wipe most of this purple off as much as I can. Wipe that off. And then I'm going to get my Quin Magenta, come along here, pretty intense with that Quin Magenta. And then I'm going to put a little tiny bit of that yellow into it. Now I have purple on my brush, but I have wiped so much of it off, and that Quin Magenta is so strong that I'm okay. It's not going to make things muddy, that little bit of purple that I have on my brush. So now let's go grab our titanium white, pull it right in here, and just blend that. And see, we can kind of blend it right up into that purple without too much trouble. A little more titanium white. Just blend it, soften it as we go up. And I'm working on a really small canvas, a 6 by 6 inch canvas. If I was working on a really big canvas and things were getting dry, I might have to add a little glazing liquid. It's my magic juice right here, glazing liquid. If you're working in a dry environment like Arizona or something, and things are getting really dry too fast, then put a little glazing liquid in your paint. Okay, let me wipe my brush again. And I think that's a pretty good transition. I'm checking it on my monitor so I can see what you guys see. I want to go a little bit more titanium white right here and blend a little bit more. I want to soften that blend a little bit. That looks pretty good. Okay, good. All right. Let's now put in the water. So my brush I might actually have to wash my brush, which I hate to do. So instead of washing my brush, I'm just going to go to a number 8. Oh, that's a number 10. Where's my number 8? Hang on. Here's my number 8. Number 8, Aqua Elite, same one I was using, only different size. So now let's put our water in. I'm going to start with phthalo blue, obviously. But I don't want it to be just blue. I want it to have a little bit of a green hint to it. So I'm just wondering if you can see me mixing it slightly off camera. There we go. I'm going to have that phthalo blue, lots of titanium white. Now just to green it up just a tiny bit, like, you know, if you were in Cabo maybe, or Puerto Vallarta, that just a hint of green. I'm going to grab a tiny bit of my benzimidazzolone and just give it a hint of that green, just what we want. Let's grab some more of that titanium white. Let's see how this works. Yep, that looks pretty good. I'm going to lay that down. Get my horizon line kind of straight. Honestly, I'm at the beach a lot, and I have to tell you that the horizon line is rarely flat. There's always something going on out there, waves and boats and all kinds of stuff. So don't worry too much about it if you can't make it absolutely flat. Let's have some of that titanium white, and let's have a little bit of variety in our water. So it's not just a flat, one flat color. Just kind of give some wave action going on there. Good old titanium white. Magic. You can create waves really easily. There we go. Now we got a little bit of wave action going on. Okay, we're going to have a tree and some land right here in the foreground. I'm wiping my brush, and I want my tree to have a really nice contrast with that sky and that water. So in order to do that, I'm going to go for a dark purple. Are there purple trees? Maybe. I don't know. But I'm thinking about Matisse, and I'm thinking about all the Fauve painters, the post-impressionists who actually worked with color the way they wanted to. They didn't actually use what we call local color. If they wanted to paint a tree purple, they did. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to grab some Quin Magenta, Phthalo Blue. I'm going to make a dark purple. And it's so dark that it may even look like black on the screen. And that's fine. That's just fine. So let's go, let's start right about here. Now I'm painting into wet paint. This is alla prima painting, which means it's wet into wet. And so I'll pick up some color as I go along, but that's okay. Don't worry about that. You can do the same thing. It's not going to hurt anything. So let's go about like so, and just establish that tree. I kind of like that. That looks pretty good. So let's give it a little bit more depth, so it actually looks like it could stand up. So basically all I'm doing is I'm just coming back and pushing down a little bit with my paintbrush. Okay, so that's just how good that is. Let me see if there's anybody in the chat. Okay, looks good. Now, don't forget, if you have questions or something as we go along, let me know. I'm happy to answer those questions. Or you just let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to know that. Okay, so there's the trunk of my tree. Wipe my brush a little bit. And you know, as I come down and I make that tree trunk, I push a little harder, the tree trunk gets a little wider. Okay, you can do a lot of things with the same brush, especially with these Princeton brushes. They are beautiful brushes. And look at the point on that. Look at that. It comes back to a beautiful point. So now, because I've got that nice point, let's have a couple of branches. And I'm going to hold my brush straight up vertical and barely touch the canvas. So I'm going to come out like so. And maybe another one down here. And let's have a couple of small ones coming off of these guys. Barely touching the canvas. That's how you get those really delicate lines. Just barely touching. Let's have something come right straight up like that. Just those really delicate branches that are at the top of the tree. Okay, I think that might be enough. Don't overdo it. Quit while you're ahead. Okay, so far so good. Now let's have a little island out here, a few rocks, you know, some interest. I'm going to go back to this purple that I just made, and let's just block in where these rocks might be. I'm going to kind of start right here. And you definitely, when you're doing this, you want to break over that horizon line. You don't want anything to just meet right at the horizon line. So break over that horizon line using that purple. The one thing you want to remember is where the rocks meet the water is straight across. So that does help if you do that straight across. Okay, these guys are looking okay. I think that's okay. This guy's a funny little point. Let's change that. A little too pointy. Okay. All right, out into the water. That looks pretty good. And see, you know, the thing you can learn from the Impressionists and the Fauves and the Post-Impressionists is you can imply things. A lot of things can be implied. You don't have to go in there and paint every little surface of the rock. You can just imply it. And it looks like rocks from far away. Purple rocks, but so what? They're my rocks. I can make them any color I want. Okay. Now let's work on the landform that's going to be in our tree is going to sit on. I've got purple on my paintbrush, so I'm going to go into the yellow and go back into this purple over here. And that's going to kind of give me a muddy brown. I don't want it too muddy because muddy colors were not a thing with the Fauves, but I do kind of want it dark. So I'm going to kind of juicy it up a little with some Quin Magenta. And let's see what we've got. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good. It's warm, but it's not bland. So we have a nice juicy landform there. And I'm painting right into that wet turquoise that we made with the for the water. Let's come back and do some more of that Quin Magenta. Can't get enough of that stuff. Okay. How's that look? What do we think of that? I think that's looking okay. Yeah. Now that tree has something to stand on. It's important. All right, now comes the fun part, my favorite part. And I do have to say, I took a leaf from my hero Bob Ross, and I started using a fan brush, which is something I haven't used in years. So I'm really happy I'm using this fan brush. This is also in your description where I get my fan brushes. Super fun to use. So much fun to use a fan brush. So we're going to start on our foliage up there for the tree. And I think we're going to start with yellow. So I'm going to put my fan brush in the yellow and then kind of pounce it off because you don't want it too heavy to begin with. Less is more. Always start with less. You can always add more later. But if you go too heavy, it's really hard to come back from that. So I'm going to start with yellow, and I'm just going to pounce. Now it's hard for you to see this on the overhead camera, so I'm going to tip my canvas a little bit, and you can watch how I pounce this. Just pounce, right? Can you see that on the camera? You should be able to see that okay. I'm just pouncing, right? So we'll just pounce that yellow. Air on the side of caution. Leave lots of air. I say this every time I paint trees, but trees are not solid objects. So you need to leave that air. Okay, so just keep pouncing, but don't get carried away because this is just the first layer. Okay. I'm gonna wipe my brush a little bit. I'm picking up a little bit of that purple of the trunk, the tree trunk. Just a few more out here into this negative space. Okay, we're looking good. We're looking good. Love it. All right, now we've got our landform down here, and we painted a background for our landform. So now we're going to paint some vegetation on top of it. We're going to come back to our tree here in a minute, but let's put some vegetation down on our land. So I'm using my same fan brush. It's got yellow on it. I'm going to go into Quin Magenta, and this is so dark that Quin Magenta wouldn't sit on top of it. So I'm going to grab a little titanium white, and I've got a kind of a pink going on my fan brush here. And I'm just going to pounce a little bit, just like I did on the tree. Move my brush in different ways, sideways, all kinds of different ways. And because that underpainting is kind of still wet, it's going to blend a little bit, which is fine. Let's pick up a little bit more titanium white. A little more titanium white. I really want something to sit on top there. There we go. A little bit more titanium white. Okay, that's good enough for now. Go back and wipe my brush. And because I've got the Quin Magenta on it already, I can come in with my Quin Magenta on my brush, pounce it off a little bit. And let's go on top of our yellow here and just accentuate our tree. And because this is darker, don't overdo it, just a little bit, because we're going to do several layers. So you don't have to get everything done in one layer. Okay, let's get a little bit out here in our negative space. Okay, pretty good, looking pretty good. Okay, back to our land. Ping-ponging from the trees to the land. And I've still got Quin Magenta on my brush. So I'm going to go back to the titanium white, really a lot of titanium white. I want it super light. And I'm going to go again on top. And that's not light enough. So I may have to switch to a new fan brush that's clean. We'll see. Nope, here we go. I was able to get some light out of that. It's just really nice to build up those layers. Just build them up so you get that depth, you know. And don't make the mistake of trying to do this kind of work with a fan brush on a blank canvas. Make sure you always do an underpainting. It'll look really odd if you're doing it on a blank canvas because it leaves so much air. Okay, so I think we're good with our land. Just a couple more. And because our land is more dense than the tree, you can use more of layers of paint and be a little heavier. So back to our tree. Now I've got white on my brush, on my fan brush. You'll notice I haven't put any of my brushes in the water. I haven't washed any of them. I'm the queen of the dirty brush. I love to paint with a dirty brush. So that's from my old history of being an oil painter. So here I am with a lot of titanium white on my fan brush. And I'm going to pick up a little Quin Magenta. But I really want this light. Let's see if we can make it happen. Up here. Yep, there we go. That's a nice light pink. And I can go a little heavier with this because it is so light. Just pounce that. And when you're using the fan brush, really take your time. You know, there's the tendency to just like pounce, pounce, pounce and fill it all in. And don't do that. Take your time, do the layers, slow down. You know, you'll be glad you did because you'll get a much better effect. Okay, I think we're almost done with our tree. I'm going to come in and do just a little bit of dark. And for that, I'm going to need a little phthalo blue. Now, phthalo blue is like kryptonite. Be careful. Be very careful. It's super strong. So I'm going to put a little bit on my paintbrush, and you might not be able to see that. I'm pouncing it off. So I have almost none on there. And then I'm going to come in a few places, just a few, because you kind of want to give it the feeling that it's got a little shadow on the underside. So don't overdo this guy here. Let's see if that's enough. That's probably enough right there. All right, let's finish off our land. I can finally put my fan brush in the water. And I'm going to go to my number 6. This is my number 6 Aqualite, Princeton Aqualite, and I want to have just a few little things that are upright back here. So for this, I'm going to put my brush in the water and wipe it off. I want to get a really fine point. So I just put my brush in the water and then wipe it. So I get that super fine point. And now let's have a couple of little things that stand up. Let's make a green, phthalo blue, a little of our benzimidazoline yellow, and let's make that a little darker, a little bit more phthalo blue. There we go. Now I'm just going to have a couple of things that stand up right here. And that green is really not working for me. I'm going to put a little quin magenta in that. It's almost black now, but it just was too much like the green from the big box of crayons. So I'm just going to make these sort of, I don't know what kind of plants they are, but just little plants that stand up. Give us a little bit of vertical, some verticals there. Let's have one over here too. Okay, let's go a little bit lighter and a little bit greener. Got my yellow here. And right down here, let's have some little fern things. Just a few little things that kind of break that horizontalness of everything that we're doing with just a few little verticals, just to kind of give it that little extra something. Let's have a bright yellow one right here. A little titanium white in that. And my studio decided to turn the lights off. Okay. Let's put a little something at the base of the tree. That's always nice. Have a little something at the base of the tree. And I'm just using all the different little colors that I have on my palette. And white and pink and green. And I do like this yellow. Let's see if we can bring some of that yellow up in the foreground. Just gives it another layer of interest, you know? Okay, well, let's see. I think we've just about finished. I'm going to give it a few more little green things right here. And I think that's good. Okay, there we have it. That took us 30 minutes or so. And we've got a great little ocean painting there, kind of like what the Fauves would do. If you have questions or you want information about any of my classes or any of the YouTube videos, just drop a note there. Or you can always find me at acrylicdiva.com. You know that. There it is, right under me. acrylicdiva.com. That's where you can find me. So I will see you all next time. Keep your notifications turned on so you know when I'm going live again. Make sure you hit that subscription button. And remember what I always say, keep painting. I'll see you next time. Bye.